All right, everyone, welcome to the post-game stream. This is going to be a victory stream, so very exciting. I'm going to let people trickle in as we usually do. Standard procedure. Skadoosh saying in the chat, Ducks win. If they could play teams on the second game of back-to-backs every time, they'd be a surefire playoff team. And that is an interesting point. I will get to that in due time. But for now, let's give it a little bit here. We've already got 18 people in here, so people a little more eager than after the Detroit game. I'll just give it a couple minutes here. Got a comment saying, damn, that Cutter goal brought back some Korea memories. I was not around for that, but it was a nice goal. That is for darn sure. Very nice goal. Just letting people know that this is live, and I will begin speaking. Silver Bullet saying Jackson Legoat. Yeah, maybe. Maybe in due time. You never know. He was very good tonight, I'll tell you that much. The hard thing about doing these lives is that sometimes I feel like I don't catch all the little details in the moment. And I have to kind of look back at the stat sheet and just recollect a little bit. Brandon is saying I watch on delay so I can fast forward through commercials. So you've been signing off as I hopped in the last two. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's the thing with these lives is that they're not going to perfectly align with everyone's schedule, but we do the best we can. What are the Ducks giving up for Jordan Kyrou, asks Eric. I don't know. Is that a thing? Okay, I'm going to give it 30 more seconds here, and we will get going. Jake is in the chat. Benjamin asks, am I starting to believing? Well, yes, you are. Oscar's saying, how much better do you think the Ducks are with Zegras? Wow, that's a take. All right, let's get started. So, Ducks win 5-2. Very exciting game over the Vancouver Canucks. Crucial game, a game that they needed to have to stay alive in the playoff race. A defeat tonight would have meant that they would have been 10 points back of the final playoff spot in the Western Conference, which would essentially kind of end the competitive playoff portion of their season. But now, as you can see here on the screen, with a victory, they are now 6 points back of the Canucks, and they do have a game in hand on those Canucks, and they have 2 games in hand on both the Blues and the Utah Hockey Club, the 2 of the 3 teams that are ahead of them. The Calgary Flames did lose tonight, and so that does help the Ducks as well, kind of keeps things tighter. So everything kind of broke right for the Ducks in that sense. The Flames lose, and they defeat the Canucks, so the Ducks take care of their own business. So purely from a standings perspective, this is a fantastic outcome. This is as good as you could have hoped for, 6 points out. Yes, you do have 3 teams in front of you, but you are alive, and that was the entire goal here of this season, was to be in a playoff chase. Now, one of the critiques of this team this season that has been very prevalent on Crash the Pond, as an example, has been that, yes, the standings have looked better and the team is getting more results, but the team isn't necessarily playing better hockey. They're being carried by their goaltender, which I think has been true for a lot of the season. But since returning from the Four Nations face-off break, which is kind of like almost a nice point of demarcation in the season, I thought that the Boston game was a good game for the Ducks. The Detroit game was so-so. And then the Buffalo game was just tragically awful because of that third period. So Tonight was an opportunity to get back on that right track. One thing to note is that the Buffalo game was their third game in 4 days. Maybe that has something to do with the way they were so flat in the third period. Going into this game, pretty much the same lineup, except that you have Robbie Fabry out of the lineup. Sam Colangelo called up, and he was put on a line with Isaac Lundestrom and Cutter Gauthier. Mason McTavish stays on Leo Carlson's wing, along with Alex Killorn, and the Strome Vetrano Terry line stays together. So a nice opportunity for Sam Colangelo, and you have Pavel Minchikov staying in the lineup on a pairing with Jacob Trouba. Going into the first period, it was kind of an odd period because the Ducks were down 2-0 fairly quickly. Tyler Myers gets a bullet of a slap shot coming out of the penalty box at the end of a Ducks power play, and just really kind of an unfortunate play. Maybe you want Lucas Dostal to make that save, but Tyler Myers is a large man, and if you allow him to kind of take a warm-up clapper from the face-off dot, that's going to be a difficult shot to stop. So you can't be too upset. Later in the period, Pius Suter, or is it Pius Suter? I think it's Pius Suter. He would score, and just kind of a miscommunication in front of the Ducks net. It looked like Vetrano thought that Terry was going to take him, but then Terry didn't take him, and it ended up being 2-0. But I thought that in that period, the Ducks were actually quite good. Maybe that's a little bit strong, but I think that they were playing well. They were generating chances. They were getting up ice. They did give up some chances against, and that makes the numbers from that period not look quite as rosy, but you could see the inklings. You could see kind of the breadcrumbs of what could eventually become a really good process. And the biggest thing that stuck out to me in that first period, which is something that we'll talk about maybe a little bit later, is that Pavel Minchikov was just so involved. He looked like vintage Pavel Minchikov to me. He was just he was joining every rush. He was involved offensively, turning defense into offense. And simply put, that's Pavel Minchikov at his best. So yes, the Ducks were trailing 2-0 after the first period, but there was kind of a feeling, at least for me, watching the game, just of optimism of, hey, they are showing some good things. I think this game can become more interesting. And I think I was vindicated, because in the second period, that's exactly what happened. A really nice play between Terry and Strome. The primary assist goes to Ryan Strome, and just a perfect setup to Frank Vetrano, who then buries it upstairs. A perfect finish. And just throughout this period, I thought that the Ducks were really doing a great job of generating chances off of the rush. They were creating turnovers. They were getting out in transition. This is the kind of hockey that I think this team is going to succeed with, which is interesting because that's not the kind of hockey that they've really played for much of the season. And yet in this game, they were skating. They looked like the more energetic team, the bouncier team. And yes, part of that is because the Canucks were on the second night of a back-to-back, but they were playing an offensive style, and that deserves a lot of praise. Moving on down the period, though, Cutter Gauthier, a vintage Cutter Gauthier goal. I don't know if you can say vintage about a rookie, but flies down the wing and just goes upstairs on Shilov's. Just a perfect shot. I don't know what else I can really say about that goal except that it was beautiful. I'm not going to play the clips on the stream for copyright purposes, just so everyone knows. And then later in that third period, just as the Ducks are continuing to control play, there was a little bit of there were moments there for the Canucks, but Dostal stood tall. I think in the second period there were moments for the Canucks where Quinn Hughes would get in and kind of shake and bake at the offensive blue line and create. And the Ducks did well to kind of ward that off. Part of it was kind of luck, maybe. I mean, Quinn Hughes hit a crossbar. But at the end of that second period, just a perfect play on the rush. Mason McTavish, a really nice feed over to Ryan Strome, who then finishes it off. And at that point, the Ducks have gone from down 2-0 to up 3-2. And I thought that was one of the best periods the Ducks have played this season. Yes, there were maybe some dicier moments defensively, but overall just pushing the pace, getting quality offense, doing everything that you really want to see. And if you look in the second period numbers, they're not the prettiest. I mean, it's 18 to 17 shot attempts at 5-on-5. nothing that is kind of eye popping. If you look at expected goals, you can kind of see a little bit better of the difference there that I'm talking about. The Ducks had zero point 0.6 expected goals to the Canucks zero point 0.4, which I think that kind of lines up with what I saw, which is that maybe just the raw output was even, but in terms of the quality, the Ducks were leading the way. They were just the better team in that second period, and they also scored 3 goals, so it was reflected on the scoreboard as well. It was just a really, really strong period for the Ducks. Now we go to the third period, and I thought that the third period was maybe not their best period, but here's one thing we've got to keep in mind is that as the team that is leading going into a third, you are expecting a push from the team that is trailing. That is what we call score effects. There's a change in incentive in the way you're going to play from the two teams. And so the Ducks, as we've seen this season, going to third periods, hell, we just saw it against Buffalo. They have a tendency to go into a shell. They have a tendency to turtle up. I mean, we saw it against Detroit, for example. And it's difficult to win that way, especially when you're just up, by 1 goal. Like the Ducks were playing well, but you're still only up 1. And I thought that in that period, there were definitely moments, there were instances where the Canucks were driving play. There were moments where I thought Lucas Dostal, he did make fantastic saves. There were moments where it looked like the Canucks might come back. It really felt like that for a good 10-minute stretch there. But the Ducks were able to sprinkle in shifts where they were able to establish a cycle. They got the puck in deep. They were able to just control it along the wall, milk some clock. Didn't necessarily get dangerous offense out of that, but it was just enough to kind of make it feel like not a full-on turtle, not a full-on shelling up, not a full-on we're just going to hope and sit back for the win. It was, again, you're expecting some pushback from the team, but you do need to see some continuing of pushing the pace from the Ducks in that scenario. And I thought that they did that well enough. Again, I'm grading them on the curve of what I've seen and what they have shown this season. And in that respect, they did well. And then late in the third period, just a great moment where it felt like the Canucks might break the dam, might get through. The Canucks were really doing a good job of establishing possession deep in the Duck zone. Transition, rush. I mean, that was the thing for the Ducks tonight, was getting out in transition on the rush, and we saw it here. I think this was at 4-on-4. Could be wrong about that, but I think this was at 4-on-4. There was a penalty involving, I don't know. There was like something that happened behind the play. I don't remember, but a nice kind of odd man situation. Mason McTavish, as I have said all season, he is at his most dangerous. This is maybe true for a lot of players, but especially for Mason McTavish. He is extremely dangerous when he has time and space on the rush because he is so good at disguising his intentions and then striking. And in this situation, you saw that. He has the puck on his forehand as a left-hand shot, holds it like he's going to shoot, waits for everybody to commit to him, and then slides it over to Jackson Lacombe. And then Jackson Lacombe, just that pass alone was beautiful. But then Jackson Lacombe somehow makes this play even better, where being a left-hand shot on the right side, he's on his off wing. So, he's kind of at a bit of a weird angle. He chips the puck into the middle of the ice to himself, a little bit of a cutback move, right into the middle against the grain of the play, and fires it home. And that gives the Ducks, that's basically the dagger, 4-2 with under 5 minutes left. Just really high level execution there between Lacombe and McTavish. And then as the Canucks continue to press, Troy Terry finds the back of the empty net, and that is all she wrote. A 5-2 victory, a well-earned victory. You can look at the advanced numbers, and they paint a good picture for the Ducks. Let's see, in all situations, this is according to Natural Stat Trick, the expected goals were 2.4, 1.7 in favor of the Ducks. And then at 5-on-5, they were 1.7, 1.3 in favor of the Ducks. They were just the better team tonight. And You can debate that, the Canucks were tired and they didn't have as much incentive to win, and that can all be true. It can also be true that the Ducks needed to win, needed to play well. Forget the standings. They needed to put that Buffalo meltdown behind them. And tonight, that's what they did. They came out and played with pace. They executed. They pushed the play. They created offense. And then you layer on the fact that this was a must win for playoff purposes. And this is one of the best wins of the rebuild that I have seen. I'm just going to say it because think about it. Must win, coming off a bad loss, and you have the kids leading the way. Jackson Lacombe gets the all-important goal. Cutter Gauthier contributes. And then I'll talk about him soon, but I thought Pavel Minchikov also had one of his best games. It just felt like kind of everything coming together as best as it can, right? Like they didn't look like a Stanley Cup contender out there, but for what they have been this season, it was a market improvement. I'm just good. Maybe am I being too optimistic? I don't know. And then looking just through some of the individual performances, Cutter Gauthier I thought was really good. I thought that the power play that he was on actually looked pretty good. They were controlling the puck. Drew Hellison, I thought he was okay tonight. Nothing, nothing that stood out really, good or bad. Which I think for Drew Hellison right now that's fine. That's all you can ask for. Jackson Lacombe, we've talked about him, but super important goal and was pushing play tonight. Had some squirrely moments breaking the puck out, but I mean, when you contribute like that offensively, you forget the rest. Mason McTavish, talked about him, but this was a really good game for him, just in terms of execution, creating plays for others. I mean, the 2 assists, that's Mason McTavish at his best. Leo Carlsson tonight, I didn't think he had a great game. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think he played that well. He had his moments like he usually does. He had some good entries. He had some good moments where he was creating for others, but there were some bad turnovers. Even the play where Tyler Myers scored arguably was kind of his fault, that he should have gotten back sooner. So didn't think it was great for him. Pavel Minchikov was awesome. It's weird. And then he had that chance. I think it was in the second or the third where he joins the rush and does a give and go and almost scores one-handed like a poke check. That's Pavel Minchikov unleashed. I want to see more of that. And in the games where he plays like this, the Ducks feel like a different team because, yes, you've got Jackson Lacombe, who's so good offensively, and that's great. But now you've got 2 of those guys, basically, and they're a little different. Pavel Minchikov's more of a give-and-go type than a carry-it-up-himself type. I mean, that's very difficult for the other team to stop. Sam Colangelo called up. I thought he gave the Ducks some good minutes. If you look overall ice time, he played 10:57. He barely played, but he was good in those minutes. He had some moments where he was controlling the puck. He had one really nice shift at the end of the third where he breaks up a play and then he goes down the other way and just kind of eats the puck along the wall in the Canucks zone, and I thought that was a nice sequence for him. Maybe what you'd call a winning play. And then looking elsewhere in the lineup, that's kind of all I got. I mean, some guys struggled a little bit. I didn't think Gudas was that good. Trouba also kind of struggled tonight. Ryan Strome was good. He had a good game. Troy Terry, I thought, was very good as well. As everyone just kind of looked like their, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but most looked like their best selves tonight. And that is, you're going to win most games if you can get the best out of almost all your players. Okay, that's pretty much all I've got from this game. Now we'll go to the chat. So if you've got a question, just put question first in your message and then throw it in, and I will get to it. So let's see. I'm just going to read through the chat while people throw in their questions. Let's see. What are people saying? People are arguing about stuff, but I don't know what. Okay. Logan says Mason Wing Tavish. Yeah, he's looked really good since being shifted to the wing. Anatoly Guzarevich asks, is there a chance that Cronin puts Zegras at center with Gauthier and Colangelo and keep McTavish at wing? Okay, so I think he's asking about when Zegras comes back. That's a great question because Goche and Colangelo I thought looked really good together tonight, and it feels like Zegras would be a really ideal fit between those two. So I don't hate that at all as an idea. I don't know if Greg Cronin will do it because his tendency has been that every time that people get healthy, he just goes back to what it was. He rarely makes changes, so I don't know. Okay, questions are piling in now. Let's see. Silver Bullet says Colangelo should not be sent back down, and I agree with that. Uh, okay, and also you can put a question in the chat, or you can put a hot take about this team. It's got to be Ducks related. So if you've got a hot take, put hot take and then the take, and I will read it on the show, and I will react to your hot take and tell you whether I think it's a good take or not. Uh, okay, Danielle asks, question, what is your ideal fourth line? That is a great question. I think that right now, let's see, what is the fourth line? Uh, yeah, no Ross Johnston. Let's start there. I don't mind Harkins and Leeson. I mean, probably the best you can do with this team right now, assume once Zegras comes back, is Harkins, Leeson, and Lundestrom. I think that's fine. I think that's probably the best you can do in this situation. Last one left asks, should we bring back Ricky Raquel? So there's been a lot of talk about this in our Crash the Pond Discord, and I think there's pros and cons for that because he's a little older. He's got some term left on his contract, but it depends on the price. If you can get him for a good price, he makes the Ducks a better team, and you can really see where he would fit in as kind of that skilled right wing to just push Brett Leeson out of the lineup, for example. So I think that I wouldn't hate it, but it really depends on the price. Taylor asks, what kind of contract would you offer Lacombe right now? That is a great question. I have no idea. I think, let's see. Let's look at what he's on right now, contract-wise. So Lacombe has one more year, and then he's got one more year after this, and then he's an RFA. So right now you can't offer him a contract. He's not going to be extension eligible until I think this summer. That's how that works. By the time that he is an RFA again, he will be 26. I mean, I think you try to go long term. That's all. So he's going to be a UFA in 2028. I think you try to go long term. I mean, I don't know what he's going to be worth. I really think it's beneficial that he's got one more season because as good as he's been, I would lean towards a bridge deal right now just because I don't know. Is this what he really is going to be? So if he does this for another season, sign him to as much term as you can. I mean, that's what I would do. Okay, Sean asks, what would be the most commonly scratched defenseman? Who should be the most commonly scratched defenseman if the current group stays? Hellison? Realistically, yes. I mean, the correct answer is probably Radko Gudas because he hasn't been good. Or throw Jacob Trouba in there, Brian Dumoulin in there. But knowing that those guys basically cannot be scratched, I think Hellison should be in that mix to be scratched more often. You should be able to get both Zellweger and Michikov in the lineup far more often. Danielle asks, do you think that this run will save Cronin? I think it has. I think that's already set in stone. I think Greg Cronin will be back next season. That's just what I think. No information. And we'll see. Expectations will be higher. For some people, that might be a good thing. Question, is this team better with Sam over Fabry and OZ over Hellison, keeping Minchikov in? So, yes, Sam Colangelo is better than Robbie Fabry. That is just true. And then Zellweger over Hellison. I mean, I'm cautious to go too far in the Hellison negativity because he's a fine player. But Zellweger is just more impactful than him. So yes, you would want Zellweger in there over him. Harrison asks, with the Ducks pushing for playoffs, do the Ducks still trade Dumoulin? Oh, God. I was just texting Jake about this. I still think that they do. Maybe they view him as their own rental, but I just find it hard to believe that they keep, hang on to him and then probably lose him for nothing this summer. But 6 points out, maybe they're just like, okay, good enough. We're keeping you. We're pushing. And I don't think that that's necessarily the worst thing in the world. This logjam sucks. But how long has it been since the Ducks have actually just even been remotely in this conversation? I see the vision. RX Taker asks, does Cronin get any credit for the Ducks' success? I mean, if you just look at the line combinations, I still don't love it. But the Ducks are playing well. They are playing well. Tonight they played really well. I think prior to that, very debatable whether Cronin deserves any credit. But tonight they played well. Against Boston, they played well. That's 2 of the last 4. Sure, give him credit. I don't know how much, but give him some. Let's see. Would you trade Lacombe and Zegras for Quinn Hughes right now? Yes. Yes, Quinn Hughes is the best defenseman in the NHL, not named Cale Makar. You do that, and you don't even think twice about it. Let's see. What else is there? Hot take. Ducks should trade their 25 first for a top 6 forward. Ooh. Well. Right now, where would the Ducks be in the draft? They would be, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. They would have the 7th overall pick. Are you prepared to trade the 7th overall pick for a top 6 forward? Everyone keeps complaining this is a weak draft. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I personally wouldn't do that. But it also depends on the forward. I mean, if you get Mitch Marner with an extension, then yes, you do that. So it really depends who, but I don't mind the take. I don't mind the take because at some point you need to make this current team better. You have your core. All right. Any other hot takes or questions? Logan asks, should Pastujov get a look late in the season with how he's playing as a reward or keep him down for the AHL playoff run? Personally, I don't think he's NHL ready. Yeah, I think Pastujov's been really good in the AHL, but I think that that's just where he should be right now. This is good for him. This is really great for him. If you want to call him up for a game or two just as a little bit of a reward on a goals off day, then sure. But I think that he's in the right spot, and then he can really make a healthy push for a roster spot next training camp. Let's see. What else do you people have? David. Hot take. Ducks make the wild card, get blown out in the first round, and the organization rewards Cronin with a fat contract that extends him until 2035. Oh, that is good. Honestly, not. If they make the playoffs, Cronin is sticking around for 2 years, for sure. But yeah, 10-year contracts don't quite happen. But I love the energy there. Let's see, what else is there? The Gulls are on a hot streak right now. Do you know why? Well, I have watched a couple of their recent games, and I think that their power play has been good. They've got a lot of skill on their power play, and I think they've also found a really nice balance with their forward lines where they've got some skill, but also some kind of grit and just defensive ability on every line. Like you've got Pastujov and Mishak with Nestorenko, and I think Sidorov is with they put him with someone else. But then you've got I can just look this up. What am I doing? They've achieved a nice balance with their lines, which I like. I think that helps. Also, I think Justin Bailey has been a really nice addition to their lineup. I think he's so much better than Pavel Regenda. So yeah, Bailey, Carpenter, Colangelo. This was before Colangelo got called up. Nestorenko, that's been a good line. Madovic, Gaucher, Sidorov. Like it's just everyone's kind of where they should be, which is what I like about their current lineup. Hot take by Taylor. Cronin is generally overhated. Oof, that is a hot take. I am going to disagree. I'm sorry. I have been very critical of Cronin. But if the Ducks keep playing like this, Taylor, I may have to agree with you. We'll see. But for right now, I'm going to have to disagree. with your hot take. Let's see. Yeah, Taylor says it's a weak draft past 10 to 12. Can still get a really good player at 7. Yes, I agree with that, and that's why you don't trade your pick, in my opinion. Hardcore Luchador, a take that is not hot. As the goals continue to do well, I'm excited to see Sasha and Sam and Sidorov and Seneca. Future seems bright. Yeah. The rebuild aspect of this team is the sheer talent is not a problem right now. It's just turning the NHL team into a good team, into a reliably consistent team. Who is your ideal coach to replace Cronin, past and current? Honestly, right now, the Ducks just won a great game. Let's just give Cronin like 10. Let's give him these 24 games. Let's just see. Let's really find out. Again, I'm very skeptical. I also don't really have a replacement off the top of my head, but they just played well. They're on the cusp of the playoffs, sort of. They've got 3 teams in front of them. Let's give him this run, and then we'll reconvene on that. Should the Ducks, Anatoly asks, should the Ducks go after Maselli from Utah? He seems to be available. Is he? Let's see. I remember he was good a couple of years ago, but Matthias Maselli, 24 years old. He's got 1 more year in his deal, and then he's an RFA. I remember him being smaller. Yeah, he's 5'11", so not really a Verbeek guy right off the hop. Forward, though. Ducks could use some more forwards. This season, he's got 18 points. He had 57 points last year, so big step down. Let's see what his underlying numbers look like. Maselli. Yeah, I don't know. Not great. Better last year. It just seems like he's having a down season. Yeah, I mean, sure, I'm down. Why not? Nothing against it. Let's look at his tracking data. See if that tells us anything else. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. He's been quite good at entering the zone with control, making plays for others. Okay. Yeah, I'm in. Good shout. I don't know what it would take to get him, but I'm down. Good take. Good take, Anatoly. Okay, well, we have crossed the 30-minute mark. So if anyone has any final questions, feel free to throw them in. Otherwise, we are going to wrap this thing up. It's been a journey. 30 minutes. It's been a long one. Let me scroll back, see if I missed anyone. Maybe from the beginning. How much better do you think the Ducks are with Zegras? I mean, I think they are a better team, for sure. They need him to be their best selves. So, yes, I think they're much better. Elliot Friedman mentioned Ducks with Rantanen in the written 32 thoughts tonight. What? Is that real? Is that real? I'm going to look that up. You've piqued my curiosity. If that's real, then I don't know what to think. Let's see. Control find Rantanen. Oh my god, what is with this page? Okay, let's see. Where did you guys see this? Where does it say that the Ducks are in on him? Are you pulling my chain? Where? Okay, oh, I see it now. Oh, okay. If Rantanen does get to the trade market, I wonder if a non-contender that wanted him for the future would get involved. They would have permission to. There would have to be permission to talk, and the knowledge he'd sign. This is purely in my head, but a team like Anaheim, which wants to take another step and took big swings, that might also improve Carolina's return. Damn. Well, yeah. So he's speculating there. He literally says this is speculative. Yeah. The thing though for the Ducks is that you have to Rantanen has to want to sign with you, but you're also going to have to give up assets in this situation. Whereas if you wait till the summer, you don't have to give up anything except money. But then maybe at that point that lessens your chances of signing. So I don't know. Very interesting though. Did I miss anything? At what point do they finally make Zegras the captain? I mean, when he signs an extension? Until that happens, we just don't know what his future is with this team. Question: would you accept OZ or Minty, Zegras, and Gibson for Rantanen with an extension? Oh, so okay, one of Zellweger, Minchikov, Zegras, and Gibson for Rantanen. That feels a little steep. I don't think it would. I don't think it would even require that. To be honest with you, I think it would be a lower return than that. I mean, I think Zegras and Luneau and a pick. Maybe. I'm kind of I don't know about Rantanen. I just don't know right now. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not sure what it would take to get Rantanen. I also just don't think he's gonna get traded. It just doesn't make sense. The Hurricanes got him. Go and chase a cup. Go do the thing. But anyway, thank you for watching, everyone. This was fun. Thank you for all your comments and chats. Appreciate all the hot takes and the questions. Ducks win. Let's see, when do they play again? They play on the 1st, which is Saturday, against the Blackhawks. So we'll see what happens then. They need another win. They need to keep winning. They need to keep playing like this, more importantly. I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.